Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Lily here. So, can you really have a better life outside the US? And if yes, why and where can you go to find that better life? But if no, why not? Now, I know what you are already thinking, but the US is the land of opportunity. And yes, it certainly is for some, but when you take a closer look at the state of things here today, it's clear that the dream for many Americans isn't dreaming anymore as it once did. With the political chaos, rising costs, and growing social unrest, it's no surprise that more and more people are considering packing up and moving abroad. So what do the countries that Americans are flocking to have in common? Why are they seeing an influx of expats, and how are they doing things differently from the US? Well, stick around, because I've also got 5 countries that are doing life better on our radar if you are considering a move. And we'll round up with why leaving the US might just be the best or worst decision you could make right now. Let's get into it. Number 1. The decline of the American dream. First off, let's talk about the American dream. You know, that idea that if you work hard enough, you can make it big. But if we're being real, it seems that dream is fading for more and more people. And it's not just a recent thing, it's been building for decades. With Trump back in the White House, the policies that continue to benefit the wealthy are more apparent than ever. The gap between the rich and the poor is wider than ever. And the middle class? Well, it's shrinking. In fact, over the last several years, wages have barely kept up with inflation, while housing costs are skyrocketing and healthcare is more expensive than ever. All of this has created a system where the dream of upward mobility is harder to achieve for most people. The truth is, many Americans are realizing that the land of opportunity might not be the best place to pursue happiness anymore. And let's not even talk about the political divide. It's getting harder to have a civil conversation, let alone find common ground. It's no wonder why so many are asking, can you really have a better life outside the US? Number 2, the myth of American exceptionalism. Next up, let's address the ever-popular idea of American exceptionalism. For years, the US has been touted as the greatest country in the world, with its democracy, economy, and cultural influence. But honestly, that idea doesn't hold water for a growing number of people. Under Trump, America has become more insular. From trade wars to pulling out of international agreements, the US is isolating itself on the world stage. While other countries are moving forward, America seems stuck in this endless cycle of division. And let's be real here, the divisive rhetoric, the political unrest, and the outright hostility in the air don't make for a great place to live. Other countries, they're embracing progress, diplomacy, and innovation. Take Portugal, for example, a country with universal healthcare, a stable government, and a growing expat community. Or New Zealand, where the government has prioritized the well-being of its citizens with paid parental leave, great healthcare, and a laid-back lifestyle. These nations are moving forward in a way that the US seems to be losing touch with. In many ways, America's best days could be behind it. And let's be honest, when you compare it to other countries that provide a better work-life balance, affordable living and stability, is it any wonder why so many Americans are looking abroad for something better? Number 3, the costs of living and economic inequality. Now let's get into something a lot of people are feeling, the cost of living in the US. It's high, and it's getting higher. Housing costs are out of control, healthcare is a nightmare to navigate, and let's not even mention how much it costs to send your kids to college. Meanwhile, wages aren't rising at nearly the same rate. It's almost as if the system is rigged to keep people in debt while a small elite continues to rake in all the benefits. Now here's where the magic happens. Other countries have figured this out. Take Mexico, for example. Americans are flocking there in increasing numbers, not just for the food or the beach resorts, but because living in Mexico is affordable. You can live comfortably on a pension, work remotely for American companies, or even start your own business at a fraction of the cost compared to what you'd pay in the US. And then there's Thailand. Thailand isn't just a vacation destination. It's one of the top places where American retirees and digital nomads are flocking because the cost of living is low, the healthcare is affordable, and the lifestyle is relaxed. Many expats are living in Thailand for less than what they would pay for rent in a major US city. It's no wonder so many people are leaving. With the high costs of living in the US and the ever-widening gap between the rich and poor, why wouldn't someone want to move to a country where their money goes further, where healthcare is less of a burden, and where they're not constantly struggling to make ends meet? Number 4. Political unrest and social divisiveness. Okay, let's talk about something that might hit home for many of you: political unrest and social divisiveness. These issues have only intensified in the past few years, and with Trump back in power, there's little sign of this getting better anytime soon. Americans are deeply divided along political lines, with growing fears of civil conflict and escalating protests. The constant social unrest, from mass shootings to political gridlock, is wearing people down, and many are looking for a way out. But here's the thing. Many of the countries that Americans are flocking to aren't dealing with this in the same way. In fact, places like New Zealand and Costa Rica are known for their low levels of political tension. These countries focus on policies that prioritize peace, community, and collective well-being. You don't have to worry about your next-door neighbor trying to storm the Capitol or argue about vaccines at Thanksgiving dinner. These peaceful nations offer something the US can't seem to provide: stability, politically, socially, and economically. You can live in New Zealand without constantly fearing the next political meltdown. You can breathe easy, knowing your country's focus is on bettering the lives of its citizens, not playing political games that benefit the elite. So, if you're tired of the constant drama and uncertainty in the US, it might be time to look abroad where life is a bit more peaceful. Number 5. Social safety nets and quality of life. One of the biggest draws for Americans leaving the US is the social safety net. Let's face it, the US doesn't really do a great job of taking care of its citizens once they hit hard times. Healthcare is expensive, paid family leave is practically non-existent, and the country's social welfare programs are underfunded. But in countries like Sweden and Switzerland, the opposite is true. In Sweden, for example, you've got universal healthcare, extensive paid parental leave, and affordable higher education. It's a place where people don't have to worry about falling into poverty if they lose their job or get sick. And let's not forget Switzerland, where healthcare is top-notch, unemployment benefits are robust, and the quality of life is among the highest in the world. Americans are tired of worrying about whether they'll be able to afford medical bills or whether they'll be able to get decent education for their kids. That's why they're looking for countries where the government prioritizes people over profits. And that's exactly what you get in places like Sweden and Switzerland: a better life. So, can you really have a better life outside the US? Well, the answer is a resounding yes. For many, living in the US has become a constant struggle. Whether it's the ever-rising cost of living, political instability, or the lack of social safety nets. And let's not forget the social unrest and divisiveness that's only getting worse. But the good news is, there are countries out there that are doing things differently. Countries where you can actually live a better, more peaceful life. If you're ready to say goodbye to the madness, consider looking at places like Portugal, New Zealand, Mexico, or even Costa Rica, countries that are focused on quality of life, peaceful living, and social safety nets that the US just can't compete with. It's a tough pill to swallow, but sometimes the best way forward is to look outside the box, or in this case, outside the US. Thanks for watching, and if you're thinking about making the move abroad, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. Until next time, take care and maybe start packing your bags.